Hello again, and welcome to another version of It's Tea Time with Tony Westwood and myself, Neville Gawn. And my goodness, are we in winter now, Tony?
I think so. I think it's certainly changed. I think it's got to the point where we're really mild going into it, and now we've ended up getting really cold, and not many people are really playing golf. The stalwarts are out there, but that's about it.
Well, the stalwarts that were out there yesterday were playing on frozen pitches. It
Yeah.
was, I was thinking of going down the driving range, and that's all. That's as far as my thinking got.
Yeah.
So this is all about being positive about your golf, but frankly, there's still a time and a place for some of us, and that's what we've been doing over these last few sessions, and we've been layering up, so that you can improve your golf. And today we're going to layer it up again. You've seen the chapter, you've had an opportunity to read the chapter and access the chapter and do the things we asked you to do in the chapter. But now we're going to get you to improve that mindset, move into the positive state all the time. What did I do? Why did I do it? How can I do it better? Sounds easy, doesn't it? So where are we going to focus today, Tony?
I think we go back a big rewind for me, really, and when it all first started was finding a way to help golfers understand how close they are to improving when it's there from their perspective, when the golf ball's disappearing, you're 20 odd yards to the right and 20 odd yards to the left. From their perspective, they're miles away. And I wanted to find a way to help the golfer really understand how much simpler it can be and help them to move forwards rather than keep taking steps back. We've all heard that great old adage, I take one step forward and two or three steps back. Well, what if we could take a step forward, learn something, and then take another step forward, and then take another step forward? That would be progress, and that's how we'd like it to be. So I like my geometry at school. I wasn't a big maths fan like you, Neville, but I did like my geometry at school. And one day I drew a golf ball on a piece of graph paper, and then I drew a line through the middle of the ball and scaled it out to 100 meters. I then picked a spot 1 millimeter off center, and I drew that line through the middle of the ball to 100 meters. And when I measured the distance across the end, because I now had a right angle triangle on a simple piece of graph paper, I was for 1 millimeter off center at the moment of impact, assuming the club face is square and moving in that direction, I was 4 meters off target. I've subsequently learned that when an expert did this and calculated it all for me, it was closer to 5 meters than it is to 4 meters. So I've been kind of maybe building the golfer up a little bit more than I should have been, because I was actually, the distance was a little bit smaller. So if you then look at how big a dimple is, I ask lots of golfers, you've witnessed it at the stage shows, when I ask golfers how big a dimple is, and most golfers aren't really golfers because they don't know how big a dimple is. And if you really study the game, you should know. So a dimple on average is 3.85 millimeters. So if let's make it 4 millimeters, because it makes the maths a little bit simple for somebody like me, then now when you're 4 millimeters off center, at 100 meters, you're almost 20 meters off target. So you only need to improve around about that much. Should we get a bit closer? Around about that much, and you're hitting the ball on target.
And on your own fairway.
And absolutely. I'm not, if you're a dimple out at 100 meters and you're 20 meters off, nearly 20 meters off target, at 200 meters, the same dimple is 40 meters off target, and you still only need to improve the same amount. So it really became relevant to help golfers understand that simple concept to help them close that gap between their perception and reality. They think they're terrible, and I'm really looking at helping them to understand actually they're closer than they think. And if they can make these small changes, then they will actually make progress.
Absolutely. And it is small changes, everybody. We're not going for wholesale change. And if you imagine what Tony's just said, And this is why golf coaching can be really difficult. Even coaching yourself can be really difficult, because that one dimple, you can see it when you hit the ball. And here's a challenge for everybody today. What do you see when you hit the ball? Because one of the things that we always focus on is it's where you hit the ball and when you hit the ball that's the most important, because you're transferring that speed, direction of the club face into the ball. So I see a lot of golfers, they sort of set up and it's almost like they close their eyes when they're hitting the ball because they're not there. So, but that's where your focus needs to be. And that's where we are today. So just 1 millimeter, you're going to be 4.69, I think it is, Tony,
It's
meters.
4.9 meters. Good memory.
100 meters. Okay. So what that means, if you get your driver out on your 1 millimeter out at 200 meters, you're nearly 10 meters off your chosen path. So these are really very, very small margins. I'm not even too sure I could get a millimeter. That's about, I think that's about 2, frankly. Oh, yeah. Oh, there we go. Oh, I had it for a second. You know? And that's the bit about golf. You've got it for a second. In fact, you got it for a nanosecond. So if we can get you to focus on what you're doing when you're hitting the ball, your golf will improve immensely.
Definitely. And it's a really simple drill. If you want to go to the golf range today or in the subsequent days, it's really quick. Keep it very, very simple. A guy brought this into my shop. I'd never seen it before. He was a little old boy. He wouldn't tell me how he made it. Well, this is basically an arrow gone through a golf ball. And I use it now a lot in the demonstrations that I do. So your task is to make contact with the ball, to send the ball in a nice straight line. If you hit the ball on the left, it goes to the right. And if you hit it on the right, it goes to the left. If you're too high on the ball, it will go down. And if you go too low, you're obviously going to hit the ground. So we've got to find that place where we hit the ball in exactly the same place every single time, or a similar place. Because as long as we're proximal, we're going to be able to achieve what we want to achieve going around the golf course. Remember, everybody, we're not looking for perfect. We just want to look for functional. So as long as that miss is close enough, then we're always doing okay. So very, very simple drill. Pick a target to aim to hit it straight. When you then hit the golf ball, did it go straight? If it did, give yourself a pat on the back. If it didn't go straight, where did it go? It went to the right. If it went to the right, you must have hit it on the left. Tell you what, then with your next shot, can you go hit this one on the right-hand side and make it go a little bit to the left? And begin to calibrate the movement you're making. That please do not focus on the meters in front of you in terms of where you're hitting the golf ball. Focus on the millimeters of difference you're making when you're actually hitting the golf ball. That's the reality of your game of golf. And really focus on that, and then you will begin to make progress.
That's a perfect example. And I need one of those arrows through a ball, I think, because that makes life a lot easier. But it is a perfect example, and you can go and do that on the golf course today. Just focus on, rather than getting the driver out and being big and macho and hitting it 250, 280 yards. Any fool can do that. But just focus today on trying to hit the ball to the target that you're choosing. You could be short, you could be long. That isn't a problem today. We're not going to focus on that. We're literally going to say, hit the ball towards the target, and then have a bit of fun. So if you're consistently saying, oh yeah, I've done pretty well there. Now try and miss the target or pick a different target. And as Tony says, the laws of physics are quite simple. If you hit the ball on the left, it will go to the right. If you hit the ball on the right, it will go to the left. If you hit the ball too low, it will go straight up in the air. If you hit the ball too high, it's going to go down along the floor. It's as simple as that. So we're hoping today we're going to be focusing on that. Can I get the 1 millimeter? What do you reckon, Tony? 1 millimeter.
Yeah.
It's pretty close. We're just going to focus on that 1 millimeter, but we can focus on that by you observing where the ball is going. So go and have a bit of fun today. Golf is all about fun. It's supposed to be a game, and a game is supposed to be having about fun. So
Absolutely.
if you've read the book, you need to go and read that preface once again. The game of golf is fun because games are fun. And if they're not fun, stop playing them. Thank you for listening. 1 millimeter. Just focus on the 1 millimeter. In other words, hit the ball. Where's it gone?
Absolutely. Focus what actually happened, what not you create in your own head.
Absolutely. Focus on the facts.
Absolutely.
Well, it's been a pleasure once again, and it's goodbye from me.
Goodbye from me. I'll see you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye.